Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
Hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of the Speak Life podcast. We are excited to have you with us for another wonderful week. I am your host, Minister Phoenix, alongside my co-host for the week. He deems himself God's gift of controversy, your favorite internet troll, as some people would put it. Reintroduce yourself to the people.
I'm Pritch, the other half of this Fire and Ice episode. Internet troll. Ooh, that's a little.
I don't know. There's a lot of people kind of.
Statement.
I don't see you as that, but I've heard it said that you have your unique opinions kind of rub people the wrong way.
Hold on. As a disclaimer, I view things very different from most people. I'm very logical and reasonable,
Okay.
and I'm not governed by emotions when it comes to looking at things. I have a different insight. You know, I call it non-guppy mentality because we got a lot of guppies in there. People just swimming around following, oh, so-and-so said it's true, so it's true, I love him. Man, get out of here, clown. Anyway, you know, I know sheep are good when it comes to religion, but it's not good when you're in the real world.
Oh, Lord. So we ain't even started yet, but shout out to our listeners. Shout out to our subscribers. You can already get a feel of how this episode is going to go. Shout out to those that rock with us week after week. We appreciate you. You are who we do this for. You know, and if this is your first time viewing the episode, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment. That is what is going to drive these kinds of episodes. That's how you get to be a part of the conversation. Comment, comment, comment. Now, this is our second Fire and Ice episode. If you didn't catch the first one, you missed out. Go back, roll it back, and check it out. And today we're going to jump into a topic that we don't really talk about too much. We don't give attention to this like that. We tend to stray away from this, kick it under the rug, look down upon it, or don't address it at all. And today we're going to talk about mental illness. Now, like I said, just a disclaimer, I am not a doctor. Last I checked, he is not a doctor. I don't know, he may be, but as far as I know, he is not a medical doctor. Please do not take this as medical advice. This is just our opinion on a very interesting topic. So buckle in and enjoy the ride. Now, to get this started for the sake of this episode, when we're talking about this thing, mental illness, this is a big umbrella. You can put almost anything under this umbrella. So I want you to just start us off and get us to understand what we're talking about when we talk about mental illness.
Mental illness is anything defined as, let's say, crazy, nutty, out of your mind. But the technical terms you can find of mental illness is under the National Institute of Mental Health. They're the ones who give you the technical terms of what mental illness is.
Okay.
Whether it be personality disorders, depression, PTSD, you name it, it fits under there. But in the terms of common folk, we call it nutty, off your rocker, you need meds, you're talking to people that aren't there, you know, nutty.
As they used to say, we used to hear this a lot. People just be crazy. You don't hear crazy anymore. Oh,
they 7:30.
Yeah, that's so bad. But you don't hear that anymore. So now the correct terminology, I'm guessing now, is mental illness. So all right. So for those of you who
I like cooked.
That's a good one. That is a real good one. All right, so this is the first thing that I want to think about, because when I think of the whole mental illness, like I think of the big boys, like the schizophrenia, the manic depression, and like just regular depression. That PTSD is a big one too. But when you talk about PTSD, people really think about just like, you know, people who've been in war. And I think there's a lot more that goes to that, you know, PTSD thing, but we'll get into that. Like, what are some of the things that stop people from getting help, that need help when it comes to like this mental illness topic? In your opinion?
It's funny though. It depends on what population you're talking about.
I'm talking about any population in general. You can
hold on. Because my clear folks, they ain't got no problem going to see a therapist at no point in time. You know what I'm saying? They start with therapists at the age of like 5 or 6. Mommy, daddy get a divorce. Daddy leaves the house with whatever, and they're already in therapy. You know what I mean? Little Billy acting up in school, get him a therapist. They ain't got no problem with getting a therapist. What we do?
That is very true.
Yeah, when it comes to our people, it's like, yo, go get the belt. I'm gonna beat. I'm gonna beat the crazy out of this.
I'm gonna beat the crazy out of him.
What's the first thing Mom want to say? I got to pray to Jesus because I'm gonna hurt this. I'm gonna hurt him.
Oh my goodness, with that piece is crazy. But so with that, do you think that is more of an injustice to us, or is that more beneficial? How do you feel about that? Like when you got a child in therapy at such a young age, do you think that, do they benefit from that? Like,
I think the problem is with us, meaning my brown people, Latinos,
people of color, POCs,
color, whatever we want to be defined as for this term, you know. But with us, we always attach a stigma when it comes to therapy. It's like, okay, when you say therapy, you always attach a stigma that it's something that's done by people in a higher class and people that do not look like us. Like we have this therapy that we have this theory that if you're in therapy, it makes you less of a human being, less of a parent, less of a father, less of a man, less of a woman, when actually it helps us to become better people. But we're so scared of it, and it's like, oh my God, my friends are gonna find out I got a therapist. My friends are gonna find out I talked to somebody. Oh no, they're gonna have a stigma because, oh no, I can't get out of bed, so I go talk to somebody, or I deal with someone other than my friends that deal with my problems. With us, we go to our homeboy, our homegirl, our best friend, and we let them tell us what to do and how to get through it when they just as messed up as we are.
That right there can preach.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna. It's like me having corona and me going to see somebody else who has corona for the cure. Like, bruh, that don't work. That's stupid.
And with that, like that always gets me, is this stigma that's attached to it, because you don't see it in our white counterparts. They're in therapy and they're cool about it. They're like, yeah, I talked to my therapist the other day. But when you bring that up, it makes it seem like there's something wrong with you if you're seeking that help. You know, it's very often looked down upon. It's not something that I feel like we talk about in communities of color. And with that, like where does that come from? Like, what is it about us that we feel like we have to be able to do it by ourselves? We have to be, if we need that extra help, that there's a problem. Like, where does that come from? Where does that come from?
It basically comes from like a sense of pride.
Okay.
So, because nobody wants to know anybody else to know that they have problems. Like, think about it. When you was little, and not just our household, but every household, it was like, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Ain't none of nobody's business what goes on. So talking to a total stranger about what's going on with you, you've already had that embedded mentality that you're supposed to deal with this on your own. You're supposed to do this or do that and deal with it on your own. And then another thing we say is nothing wrong with the preachers and the prayers and everybody else. Pray about it and God's going to help you. Just get on your knees and pray and God's going to help you deal with them voices and all the things that are going wrong and everything else. And yes, prayer does help. But God helps those who helps themselves. So
I'm gonna message you on this one. You know, I gotta message.
Some of y'all need to go see somebody else because Jesus
I gotta message you on this one.
Attitude y'all got.
So now I gotta ask you this question because you brought it up.
What's up?
Do you believe that divine healing can help from praying? Yeah. Do you? Yes, you over there. Do you believe that a person can pray and they can be healed?
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. They ain't called miracles for a reason. That a miracle is something that happens once in a blue moon. It's not something that happens all the time. You're not going to get divine healing because you pray on Thursday. You got to get up and get rid of cancer. Happens once in a blue moon. Doesn't happen every day. So yes, you can pray and you can do everything you can in your power, and God's going to help you. But sometimes God's help is finding you a therapist to deal with your schizophrenia and your depression. Sometimes God puts that therapist in your life to help you get through it. Sometimes God needs help too. Like sometimes God can't help everybody. Sometimes he puts little worker bees to do some of his trivial stuff. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, I got little stuff I need to handle, so I'm gonna send my little runner to take care of it. The problem is y'all don't want to listen to the runner. Y'all just want the big man himself to give you everything. Sometimes the big man's like, yo, I need a break. I'm over here dealing with this. I'm gonna send you somebody to help you over here. But the problem is, y'all don't want to take the help. Y'all be too proud. If you walking with 70,000 bags to get in the house and someone came to offer you to help you bring the bags in the house, you're going to go, no, I'm just going to wait for God to tell me to do it myself. Like, come on, B. It don't work like that. Like, come on. Come on. You on the bottom of the stairs. I got an even better one for you.
Hold on. Can I correct
Hold on. I thought about this one. This is more perfect. You fall down the stairs, break your hip, you're laying at the bottom of the stairs, and you're praying for God to help you. It's like, okay, God, help me get up. So you're going to hope that God heals your hip so you can get up and walk, or God going to send an ambulance to take you to the hospital to get fixed. You're going to say no to the ambulance because you're waiting for God to heal your hip.
This reminds me of a funny story that I heard one time.
I'm going to sip my tea on that one.
I'm going to respond to this piece with the story, and then I'm going to respond to two things that you said. So there's a flood coming. This guy's sitting outside of his house. It's raining. Mm-hmm. And he runs in the house. National Guard comes by. They're like, come on, we're here to evacuate you. The guy says, no, I'm waiting for God to come and save me. So then the flood waters start to rise. He's at the second floor of his house. People come by in a boat. They're like, come on, I'm here to save you. The guy's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm praying, I'm waiting for God to save me. So then the water keeps rising. Now he's at the roof of his house. Helicopter comes and they're like, come on, grab the ladder. We're here to help you. And he's like, no. I'm waiting. God's gonna save me. So the guy dies. Guy drowns in this flood. He gets to heaven. He's standing before God, and he's like, God, what happened? I thought you was gonna come down and save me. God's like, listen, I sent the National Guard, I sent the boat, I sent the helicopter. I realized you wasn't going, so it was time for me to take you home. Now, the two things that you said that I really liked was the thought that you made me lose my train of thought because you threw me like all over the place for a minute. But the piece about God using people to be able to help you in where he's trying to take you. And I heard this amazing saying where I believe it was from my pastor. He might have got it from someone else, but he said, after God created the world, he stopped working with nothing. He's like, after the world was created, he started using people to do things. He used Adam to till the garden. He would use people to deliver his people. And it's like, even in these moments, it's like, I feel like a good point that you made was the fact that God will use people to allow you to be able to get through some of these situations and allow you to be healed in certain situations. And God gives us wisdom. And I think that is a really big missing piece, is the wisdom piece. God has given you this mind, and he's giving people the ability to be able to help you through some of these situations. But a lot of times the overall is this thought that, you know what, God's going to do it himself when God will send someone. I agree with that. God will send someone.
Now can I say something else here?
Yes.
God should have sent him. God should have sent him somebody with some skills in mental health, because he's crazy. He crazy. He should have sent him a therapist, because the man was crazy, because he had a chance to leave and he did. So obviously, he had mental illness. He had some mental illness. God should have sent the National Guard. He should have sent Dr. Phil or a young.
He was working on faith. He was working on faith.
Well, guess what? He ain't working no more. He's unemployed. He's up with the riches of heaven right now.
But there's one thing that I will say though. I do believe that in instances, divine healing can happen. I must say that I do believe in that God can and will bring healing when necessary, but I do believe that God will use people to help you through situations. And it's funny that we have this conversation, because even last night, it was last night, there was this preacher talking. He's like this overseer. I can't remember which region he's in, but he was talking about how his son.
Overseer?
Yeah, it's
okay. Y'all got some weird terminology.
That actually is not a technical term. Now it's a regional bishop, but that's the one that's stuck in my head.
It's Black History Month. We can't be talking about no overseer. He is a servant.
He's a regional bishop, so he's in charge of a region of churches.
Okay, well, let's use that. Okay, because where I'm from, we ain't gonna say no overseer.
Okay, yeah, he's a regional bishop. So he was talking about this.
That's the whip of Jesus.
Oh Lord. He's talking about this instance. He was talking about this instance with his son, and his son had this eye problem where his eye was crossed. And he was like, God told him that he was going to heal his son. So he's holding on to this belief that God's going to heal his son. But every time he's looking, he's praying, he's going to all these meetings, he's going to all these services. God didn't heal his son. And he's like, but they had the surgery that his son could have done. And he's like, but God told me he's going to heal my son. And he's holding on to his word, but he's not seeing it come to pass. And then his son's going for the surgery, and they're telling him, like, listen, when your son goes through this surgery, he's gonna lose his depth perception. So he may start bumping into stuff because he can't see how far things are from him. He's he's still believing. He's like, but when he heard God told him he was gonna heal his son, he never heard God again. He's like, but he's about to go into this surgery, and he's like, God, you failed me. He's like, you failed me. You told me you was gonna heal my son, and now he has to have the surgery. They're telling me his eyes gonna be messed up. And he's like, and he was upset, and God said, he's like, I said I'm gonna heal your son, and I'm gonna get the glory from it. So his son goes into the surgery, and they're like, we can't really tell if it was successful or not. We gotta wait till he heals up. But he goes to like the follow-up, and in the follow-up, the doctors are checking his son's eye and everything. And after the surgery, they said they could only fix his like eyesight from being crossed from like only a few degrees. But when he came out the surgery, it's like the boy's vision was perfect beyond what the surgeons thought they would be able to do. And it's like in these instances, I feel like God will use people to bring about your divine healing.
Okay, so now that you've told like 3 stories of divine intervention and God,
I'm just saying, this is because I want to touch on it because you brought it up.
I said you touching on it, but you holding on to it like it's a life raft, brother. We supposed to be helping these people with mental health, and you giving us religious.
All right. I was just giving an instance that supported what you were saying. That sometimes God will use people to help you.
But let's get back on task right here, because people are gonna be tuning out. Like, he done told 5 stories about God, and we ain't really
like 3.
Mental health. They sound like they crazy. They might need some mental health. Shoot.
Oh gosh.
All right, so back after we just finished with the Holy Bible storyline, now back to what we really were talking about.
Back to what we're talking about, mental illness.
Mental illness. So, see, you made me lose track of what we even talking about, because I got to go back into the notes here, because I'm totally lost on what
we're talking about things that hinder people. And when you talked about the stigma, and I talked about where that stigma comes from, and you would talk about what happens at home stays at home, and having to deal with it yourself. There you go.
At least your memory ain't messed up. That's excuse me, for good God, sure. But no, seriously. Now back to what we need to do. I think another thing people that stops people from getting mental health, they feel like they can't afford it. You know what I mean? People feel like it's something that rich people do or X, Y, or Z does it, but I can't do it because I'm broke. But then again, everybody has health insurance, and most of your mental health issues, most of your mental health visits are covered by your insurance. But we never look to see what avenues we have with that. And if you got some of that good old mass health, you get to get everything.
Mass health, you get everything.
That and most of the people who are underprivileged have mass health, and y'all can be getting the good services, but y'all don't want to do it because y'all don't want to ask those questions, or y'all don't want to take the initiative to do that. And there's a ton of programs out there that are like free if you just Google them. And oh man, what was it? I think it was like the Osiris Group or something that deals specifically with minorities and mental health issues in the home, school, and everywhere else. But again, it's like we don't take those next steps where we want to do it. We'll get online and find out when the next pair of Yeezys are coming out or the next release of the new colored Jordans, but we won't take that extra step to go figure out to find a therapist that could help us with the issues that we have. And a lot of times we don't even realize we have issues.
That right there is gold. That we don't even realize we have issues, Pete. But before we jump on that, because I'm gonna jump on that 2 feet big time. You know, I think
you gotta do the double. You gotta jump in like double. I jump in like double. So I'm getting in.
With the piece of the affording therapy, I think the idea of having a therapist, having this doctor that, because whenever I think of therapy, I think of you're in this doctor's office sitting on the couch with them, they're like, tell me your problem, because that's how they project it in movies. And sometimes it's like that, but it's actually covered under most insurances. You can go and get a great therapist, within, reason. But here's my question upon that piece right there. What is the likelihood of being able to find a therapist that is going to understand the dynamics that you as a person of color face? Because I honestly believe, and this may not be true, it may or may not be true, but there are certain things that people of color, there's certain mindsets, certain things that we've internalized, certain things that we deal with, that I'm not sure if a therapist that doesn't have that experience would be able to relate to and be able to help me through it. So how does that work?
I'm gonna counteract it like this. I got 2 points to make. A therapist is like a barber. You got to find one that does what you want.
Say that again. Hold on. Say that again. That's a good one.
A therapist is like a good hairdresser or barber. Just because everybody's can cut hair don't mean they can cut your hair the way you want, or they can give you the services that you provide. So if you're going to one, you don't like the feel, find another. And another thing is, I'm gonna catch some flack for this. So I'm gonna catch some flack. So just bear with me, brown people.
I'm here.
Sometimes when we deal with our own people and we experience the same things, sometimes that's actually a hindrance as opposed to a help. Because something that we terminalize as normal, and everybody's been through that experience, is actually trauma and a problem. So it's like, okay,
jeez, I felt that.
So it's like, all right, sometimes I can't talk to you about what I go through. We've been through that same experience, but what we consider normal isn't normal. Like, so you might think that growing up poor in certain situations and dealing with certain things is normal. And that person that sits across from you might think it's normal because they've been through that too. But that's really not normal. That's not normal. We tend to normalize
Dysfunction.
function.
Wow, that right there was deep.
So sometimes you need, like, for example, we grew up, we had friends dying since we was like, what, 10, 11? Like, friends getting shot, killed, and everything. That's a norm to us. That's not a norm in normal society, B. That's not how life is supposed to be. You ain't supposed to be 12, 13, 14, your friend getting shot and killed. It's like, that is a form of trauma. And we're so used to normalizing it, like, hey, well, you know my favorite line, people die every day, B.
There it is. Paid in full.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, people understand, people who are like me understand that. That might be the norm that we've experienced. But sometimes we don't acknowledge that that is not how things are supposed to be. Like, for example, for me, growing up in chaos, when things were quiet, I'd cause more chaos because I didn't know how to live without being in chaos. I didn't know how to live with quiet, peace, normal.
Just seems like something's off.
Yeah. And like, I would date people and people were like, yo, bruh, you know, that's not how things are supposed to be. But then I go tell my boys, like, yo, listen to this. They'd be like, nah, B, she crazy. I'm like, wait a minute.
Is she crazy? Is she?
Maybe you're crazy because you're telling me that it's okay for me to be crazy. So it's like it's like Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder talk about, you see that? Like, it just don't work.
Oh.
It just don't work.
No.
You think what I'm saying? It's stupidity.
Yo, that metaphor, I have nothing to do with that one.
But you understand what I'm saying? It's like,
and I think that really goes to that point that you was making, is the fact that sometimes we don't even know. Sometimes we don't even know.
Like, and I say this, I'll take it to a female's perspective. A lot of females I know or I've been with have been either molested at some point in time in their life or have had some kind of traumatic experiences that have shaped and developed them. And it leads to the way they deal with people, the way they deal with situations. But they'll never tell you that. They'll never get help for that. But then it manifests itself in the way they have a relationship with you, the way they raise their kids, the way they do things. And even with us as men, there's instances and things that we've gone through that have caused us to do things and act a certain way when it comes to our relationships or raising our kids or even dealing with people. You know, so it's like, these things are there. These issues, these traumas, these things that we've never dealt with, or we've never been taught it's okay to deal with them or see somebody to deal with them, hinders us from being better fathers, better boyfriends, better husbands, just better people as a whole. So what we do, we mask it, we put on our little facades, and it's like, nah. Like, here it is, I'm in my 40s, and I'm just...
First and foremost, I can't even believe that you're really in your 40s whenever you say that. It's like,
back on track, man.
Gosh.
But here it is. I went through so much. If you read the book,
I love the plug.
if you read the book, go buy it. But we've been through so much growing up that I never realized how much it affected me in my daily life, or how it affected me in terms of relationships, or in terms of just making me who I am. And here it is, I'm in my 40s, and I'm just now seeing a therapist over it. It's like, okay, from my personal experience, due to the trauma that we went through, I still can't sleep on Thursday nights going into Sunday. I wake up, you know what I'm saying? Hyper aware, just like a PTSD, just like if I've been to Iraq or Afghanistan, I have those same issues. It's like someone will touch me, like my significant other will reach over and touch me in the middle of my sleep. I'm jumping up like I'm ready to fight. And it's like, okay, It's like if my kid comes to touch me when I'm sleeping, I'm startled. But I'm at home, I'm safe. I'm like, I've been like that my entire life, but I never thought that that was a result of what we've been through. I've never associated going through trauma such as friends dying or even being in the streets and dealing with that stuff as reasons for me still having problems that I have now. It's like I'd be in relationships with really good women, not ruin them because it was just too peaceful. You know what I mean? It's just too peaceful. I'd start an argument or I'd go do something destructive in my relationship to prevent me from having a relationship. And it was even at some points where I felt like, yo, this person is too good to be with someone like me.
Ooh, the too good piece. Oh,
yeah,
that one really resonates with me. Is the too good or too nice, where you meet people who have no ulterior motives for anything. And they could be genuinely nice people. These could be associates, these could be people you're in relationships with, but you meet these genuine people, and because of the life that you've seen and the things that you've seen in life and how life was, it causes you to wonder, like, is there something wrong with this person? Are they after something? Like, why are they being so nice? Why are they being so normal? Because it's like you've internalized so much stuff that when things are normal, when things are how they're supposed to be, you can't accept it because it's like you internalize dysfunction. I've seen like where I've met people and I'm like, yo, what are you up to? Like, as if there has to be some sort of ulterior motive because people just can't be like that.
And that's just, like I said, that's just a form of, it's like a mental illness, B. You're a victim of trauma. And being a victim of trauma, you don't trust people, certain situations, at times you feel like you're not worthy of normal. You're not worthy of peace. Like, I've been in relationships where people have been just as messed up as me, and it's like, you got two chaotic people.
That ain't gonna work.
And you're like, yo, who does this? Who stays like this? This ain't normal. But you look back at it as you get older and things slow down and you start looking for that peace and you start finding it and you start dealing with it. One of the problems with mental health is people start, but they don't finish. Because sometimes dealing with those demons that you have, you don't like the person you were. You know what I'm saying? You don't like the person that you've become due to your circumstance. You'll tell yourself, oh, I'm never going to do this, or I'm never going to be like this. I'm never going to be this person. But in ways, you're that same exact person through your actions. And you don't even realize you're doing it. You might not be physically abusive, but you might be mentally manipulative. You might be not verbally abusive. You might be mentally abusive. You might be doing things and you're like, what the hell's wrong with them? Yo, bruh, you destroyed
you. It's you. You're the problem.
It's you. And it's like, my theory is, if you think you have a problem, you're already too late because you got a problem.
You
already got the problem. You know that you have a problem. You know you have issues. And it's like, you can't talk to just your buddies or go through prayer to do it. You have to find help. It's like, because you don't want to take your demons out on somebody else that doesn't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be that person, and then you're blocking other opportunities in your life. You know what I mean? You're not letting yourself experience even life as a whole. Because once you start letting go of a lot of things and you start dealing with a lot of the issues, you see things different. You appreciate things different. You love different. You receive love different.
The receive love different piece, that got it for me. Keep going. I like where it's going. Got some gems happening right now.
So, and we can go to receive love. You learn how to receive the proper type of love, not just what you perceive to be love. Like you can be with the most, you can think the most degrading, mean person in the world is actually showing you love, but that's not really love. You know what I'm saying? You know what real love feels like, and it's okay for you to be loved. And it's like, okay, it opens up your mind to a lot of things. And I think because of what we've been told and the stigmas, we don't want to. We sometimes pause for a second. I'm gonna take it back. Sometimes people don't want to go seek the help because you don't want to have to admit to yourself that you have a problem.
Woo! Whoa! Oh! Whoa! Please repeat that. That's worth repeating.
Sometimes you don't want to admit to yourself that you have a problem. It's easy to put the blame on everybody else, but it's the hardest thing to do is look yourself in the mirror and be like, yo,
it's me.
Problem. It's nobody else. It's me. I'm the problem. And then once realizing you're the problem, taking the steps to fix the problem. And a lot of people aren't willing to take that first step to fix the problem. It's like, okay, if your pipes are leaking and it's messing up the floor, hire a plumber to fix it.
Gotta get a plumber. You gotta get a plumber.
Yeah, you're not going to hire an electrician. You're not going to hire anybody else to do it. You take the steps to fix it. Sometimes, hey, maybe it passes the person that helps you get through those situations. Maybe he has that gift where he's not certified, but he can listen to your problems and help you lead you to the steps. If it works for you, fine. But I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10. Let me go 6 times out of 10. Sometimes they have issues themselves that limit them from being able to help you.
Almost always, people have issues. We people, all people have issues.
But again, sometimes people place their faith in individuals who they believe have their best interest in mind, but that person doesn't even really know how to help you.
Perfect example. 2 things. Hold on. There's 2 things. Because you're dropping a lot of gems. You're dropping some gems. You're dropping some serious gems here. Now, one of the things that you said that kind of, resonated with me was this thought of not even realizing and not even being able to deal with the fact that you are the person who has the issue with this. And I think with a lot of people, there's this, at least like for me, is this unchecked trauma and how to deal with that. Like these things that we've gone through that cause us to have these different defense mechanisms. You hear things like self-sabotage, and it's like people do it in different ways because we have this unchecked issue that we have inside of us. Now, if you have a person who's having these issues and they really do, they really want to get over it, but they don't know how to take those first steps. What would you tell them to be like, you know what, this is something I think that you should probably do to be able to get that help that you need, or because this was a big thing, is like trying to find ways to have those conversations or be able to reach out if you need help. And before you give me that one, you said something about the putting your faith in people, especially those who have issues. Now, I honestly believe being a minister, there are some things that you specialize in. There's some things that are way above your pay grade. Any good pastor, any good shepherd should have the wisdom to know if a problem comes your way that it's above your pay grade. Like I do believe everyone hears voices. I believe there's 3 voices you will sometimes hear. You'll hear your thoughts, you'll hear God's voice, you'll hear the enemy's voice. However, there are often times where there are more than just those 3 voices that you hear. When you have like a crowd of voices in your head, I think at that point, if someone comes to me and says like, "Yo, bro, listen, I'm going through this situation, and I'm having these conversations in my head where it sounds like I got a crowd of people talking to me. Something in my head should go off and be like, yo, listen, I'm gonna be real with you. You might want to go seek some help for that."
Also, and here goes. I'm about to use you as an example. When you say mental health, first thing people think is that voices that you hear in your head. That's just one facet of it.
Yeah.
If you can't get up out of the bed and you can't find the energy to do with the things that you need to do, and you're fighting that every day, that's depression.
Yeah.
If things that you don't normally get joy out of, and you're fighting, I call it the Monday morning blues all day, every day, depression. You know, mental illness isn't just hearing those voices in your head. There's more. There's so many different facets to it besides the general image of hearing voices in your head. So for me, for example, I knew I needed to get help when I'm pulling up in a parking space. Kid cuts me off, jumps out, starts pointing his finger in my face, talking all kinds of crazy yak. I'm looking at this kid, and the first thing I said to myself is, I can grab him by his throat and I will beat the living heck out of him. I will pound his face into oblivion.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of anger.
And it's like, I'm having this conversation in my head. I'm like, first I'm going to punch him in his throat. Then I'm going to commence to breaking his orbital bone. Like, these are not thoughts that normal people have. I'm like,
no, you may want to talk to somebody about that.
Getting stupid. I'm going to
not me.
My elbow. But like, I can see myself going through these steps and hitting them, and I'm like, I'm licensed to carry a firearm. I was like, if it gets too out of hand, I'm going to shoot him.
Oh Lord!
Like, and then the little voice in my head goes, bruh. We get a little too cool for Cocoa Puffs over a guy.
Little someone to talk to then.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, that's not normal. That's not normal. Come home, I'm sitting in my house, and I'm still angry about this dude from a half an hour ago. I'm still mad. I'm like, yo, he really thought he punked me. I'm like, wait a minute. Yo, bro, this is like 45 minutes ago, and you still thinking about hurting this dude. You need Jesus.
You need Jesus and someone else too.
I'm like, nah, that ain't cuckoo. I'm like, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm roid raging. And I'm like, I'm just having rage.
I'm super stressed. It's like everything else coming in.
It's stress. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, nah, bro, that ain't normal. That's just not normal. That's not normal things that people think about. So then I'm talking to a friend. I'm like, yo, you won't believe what happened. Now, this person's clear. They're a clear person. And they look at me and they go, yo, bruh, your skull beeped. I'm like, yeah, I'm skull beeped right now. He goes, I love you to death, but you might really want to talk to somebody because that's not normal. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you never get mad? He's like, yo, I get mad.
But not like that.
Somebody, but like, I'm not physically thinking about hurting them. And it's not the normal first thought that comes into my head is I'm going to pummel this kid till there's no other way to pummel. I didn't act on it, but the thought was there. I'm like, what's to say that one day the thought's going to be there and I'm not going to deal with it? I'm not going to handle it. Like, I'll be walking with my significant other and someone is looking at her behind and I'm like, I'm ready to turn around and just two-hand choke him. Like, I'm like, yo, he's a man. I'm walking with a beautiful woman. That's what they do. I was that guy. What makes me think that this dude right here isn't going to
be any different?
But she's like, yo, calm down, killer. Let's go. You're getting nutty over nothing. And as you know, I'm cool as hell. But when I get nutty,
you can get nutty.
Something just and I've been like that since we were little. I'm like, I won't get to that point, but once you get me to that point, I'm blacking out and going, so what happened? Called the therapist. First one, was not happy with it. He was like, "Hey, buddy, like, how can we deal with this?" I'm like, "Bruh,
I tell you how I would deal with it, but that wouldn't be helpful. That wouldn't be helpful.
Bruh. I'm like, bruh. And then it's funny, I called 3 people who look like me for therapy. One person brushed me off. Was like, yeah, we'll get back to that. Never heard from him again.
Wow.
Another dude I called 4 or 5 times. He's like, hey, with COVID, we're gonna have to figure out something. Boom. Another dude never got back to me. Now, this is 3 people who look like me who I thought that would take my issues
seriously,
and see that it's a problem. So the one dude I did find, old, probably like in his 60s, white dude, wears suspenders, looks like Farmer Joe. Looks like Farmer Joe. When I tell you, this dude looks like he should be out tilling some fields, like beard, cool dude. So first meeting we had, he goes, so what you think your problem is? Just like that. He's like, so what you think your problem is? I was like, I ain't got a problem. He's like, if you have enough courage to call me, you know you have a problem. You just don't want to deal with it. I gave him the gloss. I glossed it. You know how we do. We gloss. You never tell anybody straight up what you've been through because you don't want their sympathy or you don't want you don't want their sympathy. It's like, yo, I don't need your sympathy.
I'm just really angry. I got some anger issues that I need to deal with.
He's like, well, maybe it's your job. I was like,
I don't think it's my job.
I was like, maybe it is a job. Maybe it's a job. He goes, well, maybe it's something else that you don't want to talk about. He goes, we can talk about all the fluff you want for as long as you want. He's like, until you really want to be real with me. And he goes, his exact words were, and you know me, I like them when they blunt. When you real and you just gotta. He's like, you can keep feeding me your bull beep, but until you're ready to be real, I can't boop help you.
Yikes.
I said, yo, bruh.
Like, I like you.
I was like, at first I wanted to be like, yo, who are you talking to? But then I was like, yo, my man kicked it to me real. So he's the first person that I've never been in a relationship with that I've actually had a real, genuine conversation about what I've gone through and what I've been through. First person.
So how would you navigate these conversations? Like, let's say I got 2 scenarios. Let's say you're the person who really needs the help and you don't really know how to go about it. Or if you see someone who needs that help and you're like, you don't want to, rub people the wrong way because people get defensive. We have different defensive mechanisms. So how would you, if someone sees someone who needs that help, how would you tell them to deal with that?
The difference between me and most people is I'm as direct as it comes.
Well, there's a lot of differences between you and most people. If we just want to be real, there's a few.
I'm real. Me, I would pull the person to the side and be like, listen, I ain't trying to judge you. I don't know what you're going through, what your issue is, but you might want to try to find somebody to help you with your issues. And they'll be like, what? Be like, yo, listen, bro. I'm not trying to be in your business, but yo, your energy is admitting that you need to talk to somebody who's trained to deal with issues that you have. And I'm not judging you. And the first thing I tell people is, I got my own therapist. I talk to him all the time. You know what I'm saying? I talk to my therapist every 2 weeks. I have a 2-hour conversation with him. We do it through Zoom. We do it through phone calls. Whatever. I schedule my 2 hours with this man every 2 weeks.
You must really like him because I can't imagine sitting and talking to someone for 2 hours.
Believe it or not, it goes. Usually it's an hour, but we decided we're going to do an hour a week, but sometimes I don't have an hour a week. You know what I'm saying? So we'll do the 2 hours where we go through everything, we deal with everything. And for me, and this is saying a lot, I feel like I'm a better communicator when it comes to friends and family. I'm a better dad. I'm a better significant other. I appreciate the things in the world around me, and I appreciate the people that I call my family, my friends, and the people who love me. Look at us. How many times do we as a family sit there and we talk? Like before, we talk maybe once, but like
it would be different type of conversations when we were talking before.
Now it's like we have a conversation at least maybe once a week when we get on the phone, we joke around, we do everything, but the way we interact and we deal with each other is more so in a healing motion than a fluff motion. You know what I mean? Each one of us has our own way we deal with it, how we deal with it, but we get on that three-way conversation and we actually talk. It'd be about nothing or
I'm gonna need y'all to start announcing when there's other people on the phone. Let me just put that out there. Y'all be seeing one person's name pop up and then two people on the phone. I don't appreciate that. Y'all gotta announce yourselves before calling on three-way.
But again, but getting back on topic, it's either you could direct approach it, or you can find little sneaky ways to do it. You could write a note anonymously on a piece of paper and stick it in a person's locker or stick it on their car. Be like, yo, listen, I care about you. I see you going through a lot of things. Maybe you should talk to somebody and just leave it there. If you ain't got the cojones to do it yourself.
I love, there's two things about that two pieces of that I really love about that. The one is the lack of stigmatizing it, making it normal. Like it's okay for you to need help. It's okay for you to try to make yourself better. And something you said earlier that I wanted to get on that I didn't get to, but it just came to me right now. It's like you said, if you have a leak in your home, you're not gonna call an electrician, you're gonna call a plumber. Like, we would never shame someone who was injured if they had to go to a hospital. We think they were crazy if they didn't go to the hospital. So why is it that we would shame someone if they realize that they need help in a different area? If it's not physical, but it's something that, is of the mind, then I think that's something that we should celebrate, because they're trying to make themselves better. And one thing that I realized...
I'll cut you off and I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're shaming someone who's going to get help, is because you need help yourself.
Oh, didn't even think about that. That's
what it boils down to. Because if you're doing something if you're going to the gym to make yourself better, I'm not going to tease you because you're fat. I'm like, hey, good job, bro. I'm proud of you. What you doing?
You got it.
You lost 50, 60 pounds. You're doing good. What you doing? Hey, maybe I can get some help for it. But it's easier to make fun of someone else being crazy because you don't have to deal with the crazy that you have going on in your life.
Oh, I felt that in my soul.
It's easy to throw rocks, but you don't want nobody to throw rocks at you.
That's very true. Don't throw stones when you live in a glass house. That is good. That was the piece. And the other piece that I love was the fact of coming from a point of caring and concern. When people realize that I feel like if someone knows that you want them to get help because you care about them, you want to see them better, and you're concerned, I think that really goes a long way. And just, I know in communities of color, it's like you don't want, your family to look down on you or to talk about you at those family cookouts or anything like that. But it's like, I feel like coming from that point of love and concern and normalizing the fact, I love how you normalize the fact, like, yo, listen, I got my therapist, I go and meet with him. There's nothing wrong with it. It's something that we really would benefit from as a community, to be able to normalize getting better and normalize dealing with the things that we deal with. Like, depression is huge. And oftentimes it's something that's like looked down upon, like, oh, well, you're depressed, you're going through this, you're feeling this way. Like, no. We need to normalize getting help for the things that we're going through. We need to normalize dealing with the traumas that are influencing our lives. We need to normalize working through situations that we don't want to really talk about, you know? And I think as a community, when we get to the point where we can deal with those, we'll see some real big breakthroughs.
We're the only community that does that. That's what's sad. We're the only community that when someone's trying to get help, we make fun of them. Like, why? Like, why is it that it's okay to make fun of somebody who's hurting and getting help?
It goes to this quote that our guest from last week, she said, she was like, you know, oppressed people have to oppress somebody. It's like we're so used to being in that situation that we gotta make fun of somebody. It's just like they say, you know how they say hurt people, oppress people, oppress people. Same concept.
But then how do you change that mentality? How
the big
do you change that?
We have to normalize getting better. And I think that's the big thing. It's like we would celebrate someone struggling with addiction going and finding help. We would celebrate someone bettering themselves when they, as you said, when they want to go to the gym because they want their, you know, their diet and their health to be better. We need to start celebrating people who are taking steps to get their mental health better, because I think mental health is something that is not talked about enough. It's not dealt with enough. And because of that, it's like we need to normalize that. We need to, the same way you break your ankle, you're gonna go and get that cast to get it fixed. If you break something in here or something's going on in here, you need to seek out the right doctor to help you through that. That's the only way that we'll be able to change that dynamic is really celebrating those steps and really taking the time to just, you know, urge people on, you know, get that help. Get that help. If you need that help, get that help. It's like we wouldn't look down on anyone else if they needed a certain kind of help. We can't try to do it for that one either.
Another thing, and I'm gonna say this because, you know, some brown people, some of my own people gonna hate me when I say this.
Uh-oh.
You hear someone else talking trash about somebody who's getting help and you laughing with them, part of the problem, B.
There it is.
Like, you part of the problem. Like, yo, if someone's like, oh, you know, so-and-so's all messed up in the head, they're going to see Dr. So-and-so, or they got a therapist. And y'all laughing at it. It's like, yo, it's like, so?
You complicit.
That person's going to get fixed themselves. Why are we laughing and gossiping about it? Like, yo, something must have happened where they need that. And as opposed to making fun of it and talking behind their back about it, let's celebrate that. Like,
I think we should. I honestly think we should celebrate getting therapy.
Because we real good at talking trash about something.
Oh, we can tear each other down better than anyone else. But I really do think, I think that's going to be the hashtag that goes on with this episode. Hashtag celebrate getting help, celebrate therapy, normalize therapy, normalize getting mentally well. And I think that's a big thing that we need to do as a people. We need to celebrate people trying to better themselves. That could go on. I think that's going to end up leading into the next Fire and Ice episode that we're going to talk about when we start talking about people bettering themselves.
But what I think we need to do is people who see this and they have some ideas or something they want to hear us talk about, throw it in the comments.
Oh, there we go, in the comments again.
In the comments. You listen, you want to hear right now, we don't have to dial in and talk to us, but you can put something in the comments. You want us to readdress mental health another time? Or
we can always get to the point if they're really serious and they want us to talk about it. We can do it live. It's not a problem.
Don't get it twisted.
I'm just saying.
You don't want to go live because
I'm just saying. I just have to give the forewarning now. If we go live, I can't control this, man.
Listen. If we go live, there will be a no filter because he cannot stop me.
I can't control this, man. I'm just trying to.
Don't get mad. Don't get upset because I'm gonna say what I want to say, and there'll be no filter. And
it's on Al Gore's internet after that.
No, but like seriously, people, if y'all are tuning in and there's something you want us to talk about, or you got a point you want to make, or you want us to readdress mental health, or the parenting joint that we did before this with raising little girls, or you have something you want our opinion on, we will gladly give it to you. You might not like it, but we're gonna give it to you. We'll give it to you as
I think they will like it though. I think you bring a really great perspective. They get tired of hearing my voice. They need other people. So I think you.
I think the voice is good. We just gotta stop you with all these 50 million religious stories every 20 minutes that last.
I'm gonna win you over. I'm gonna win you over. Don't worry.
You get them long-winded Jesus stories. I'm like, well, I don't know whether to break out in a celebration or just be like, well, shut up.
Okay. On that note, we closing. We got end
I want to hear what the overseer of the great blah 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 church has to say.
We are going to end. We done. We done, people.
Y'all need to change overseer's title to something else.
Right? It's regional bishop. It's regional bishop. But we done. We thank y'all for tuning into this amazing episode with our lovely co-host, Pritch. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Throw those comments in there. Remember, death and life is in the power of your tongue. So make sure that you speak life. Have an amazing week, people, and we will see you soon.